I remember when I first started going to the gym, I actually wouldn't go to the gym. I would wake up around 5:30, 6 a.m. in the morning to hit like a 30-minute workout before going to school. And I did that for maybe a few months until I eventually was able to convince my mom to join the gym. I did that for maybe around half a year, and I basically just started ego lifting, which meant that before long I had a horrible lower back injury where I basically couldn't walk, definitely couldn't run. Like, it would actually hurt to run to where I couldn't run. And that immobilized me for a bit, terrified my mom, obviously. But still determined to get that crazy physique. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't even know if, like, I'm just amazed that I would wake up that early, fucking 5:30 in the morning. And I used to be a fucking night owl, right? I never thought of myself as an early bird or morning person. And to think that I would wake up that early to build the physique is quite nice. But after that, I did calisthenics and just gymnastic rings in the park for quite a while in order to get back into it, not lose my physique. But I wasn't able to go to the gym. So that was that. And then around 2.5 years ago now, I joined the gym again. I switched gyms a few times, but I'm now in a gym, and it's been quite the ride. I think in total it's been around 4 to 5 years to build up the physique I have now. Though I will say that it's only since I started the gym again, and even then it's been maybe 6 months after I joined the gym again 2.5 years ago, that I've actually been training seriously. Before that, I wouldn't be that consistent. My workouts wouldn't be that hard. It would just be, I still put in the reps, and I'm grateful for that, which allowed me to build up a decent physique, but it was nowhere near my workouts now. And then another thing you have to keep in mind is I started this whole journey when I was 12 or 13. I'm now 17. Which, what you have to take into account is that when you're 12 or 13, and I only realize this now, your testosterone isn't there, your body isn't necessarily ready to build that much muscle. So even if I'd put in the workouts I put in now, back then, I don't think I could have seen the results. For some reason, when I was that age, like 12, 13, I thought I would be able to build up the really aesthetic physique at my age, which is kind of stupid because now I'm seeing much better results independent of how hard I'm training. It's just I'm hitting like testosterone peaks. It's getting higher every year. So that's quite nice. And so I think the first thing that allowed me to build up this physique is just going at it for 4 to 5 years consistently. Now, it wasn't very consistent at first, I did say that, but I would work out at least once a week. And usually it was more to 3 times a week. I was meant to go for 5 or 6, but some weeks I just wouldn't do it. And it was more that my workouts weren't that good. But I definitely just kept going at it for 4 to 5 years. And if I hadn't, I just wouldn't have the physique I have now. The second thing, looking back, is that I never really did bulking or cutting. I just kind of ate. And a funny thing, actually, when I was maybe around 11, I used to think I was really healthy because I would play tennis and eat food. But looking back, I only played tennis once a week and did not move my ass at all. I would just play video games, scroll, jack off, the regular stuff. Maybe not when I was 11, but around there. And I would eat really shit food, like donuts and stuff, which really makes me wonder. I don't know why I thought I was healthy, but I did. But the thing is, in those 4 to 5 years, I've never really bulked or cut in the way that people usually do, where you bulk up 10 kilos and then you cut and then you bulk up again. I never really did that. I would just eat as much as I wanted to. I tried putting on weight. That's been my goal since I started, basically just putting on muscle. I don't know why, but I never really liked or never got the appeal of the kind of lean TikTok physique. That's what I call it. So that just meant I would try to put on muscle, get big and get strong. I'm honestly quite glad I did that because, for one, I never wanted, and I still don't really want to cut at this age because Whether I'm still growing vertically, I don't know. I'm 6'3", but my body's still developing in ways that I can't visually tell necessarily. So not just muscle, but other things. And so the idea of cutting now and restricting my calories just seems like a bad idea. So I never really liked that. And then if I ever had to bulk too much, then I would have to cut, and I didn't want to cut, so I just wouldn't bulk hard in like the, gain 10 kilos a month kind of thing. That being said, over the past 2 years, around 2 years, I think I've been able to put on around 30 kilos, which is more or less 60 pounds. It's actually not bad when you think about it. And now for the past few months, especially since the new year, and then even before that for a few months, I've really been bulking. My goal is to get to 100 kilos, so 220 pounds before the end of June, and then by the end of the year, 220 pounds, but then I'll cut down a bit and bulk back up. So not cut down as in like really cutting, but just maintaining more or less. But it's going to be like, the thing is, I think when I was younger, I would watch a lot of the bodybuilding and bodybuilding videos and like how to and stuff. I don't really do that anymore. I think I still have a pretty good understanding. But anyways, we're getting off topic. And in terms of timelines, because I thought about this for a bit, I think the best age to start is obviously right now. But so if you're younger than the ages I'm about to say, don't wait. If you're older, then don't say, oh man, I ruined my chance. But if I had to choose like a perfect age to start, honestly, I guess the earlier, the better. But I think around 12 or 13, maybe I'm biased because that's when I started, but around 12 or 13 seems like a very good place to start, because by the time you get to 16, 17, 18, and then college years, 19, 20, 21, so on, you're going to have a really good physique. Like starting around, honestly, I'll say 17 years old, even a bit before that, but let's say 17 years old, you're going to have a physique that's like noticeably good. More than just, oh yeah, he goes gym, look, he has a pretty good physique. It's like the physique that people find very like more than just, oh, gym bro, like yeah, you can see he has a muscle, like actually, holy shit, he's jacked, he looks really hot, that kind of thing. I think if you start earlier, it's probably fine. Then again, if you're 10 years old, should you really be lifting? No, maybe just go play with your mates outside. But if the only other option is scrolling TikTok, then working out doesn't seem like a bad option. And then if you start older, what I have noticed is some of my friends, actually, funny story, when I started weightlifting, I had two of my other friends, well, weightlifting, I mean like calisthenics and stuff, when I was 12 or 13, two of my other friends also started then, or would do it back then. There was actually a friend of mine who started younger than me. But what happened to them? One of them just stopped. He just doesn't work out anymore. And you can see it in his physique. He's not fat or anything, he's just kind of skinny. And then the other one stopped for a bit because he got injured, which is kind of okay. But, he got injured because his form wasn't good, and I'll talk about that later. And he only started again maybe a year or two ago. And his physique isn't, I meant to say it's not bad. I don't think it's particularly good. I personally couldn't tell if he went to the gym or not. And I think that's also down to testosterone, which is within his control, and also consistency in how hard he trains and everything. And so all of that to say, just because you start at 12 or 13 doesn't automatically mean you're going to have a very good physique when you turn 17. And the reason I say 17, 18, like 16, 17, 18, is because I think that's when it gets interesting to have a good physique. Because before that, maybe, but you're just young, so like, yeah, girls are important, but you can't really do that much. Whereas around 16, 17, 18 is when things with girls start getting more serious, which is when it's really useful to have a really good physique. And so starting at 12 or 13 means you have around like half a decade of experience by the time you turn that age. But don't use this as an excuse. So however, like, just start now, basically. But what is useful to think about is Imagine you're 18 right now. You add 5 years onto that, that's when you'll have like a very good physique. It is in top 1%. You would stand out in a crowd kind of physique. And so just think about that. If you're 18 right now, that means when you're 23, you'll have a very nice physique, which might be when you finish your, say, your bachelor's if you go to uni, or your master's if you keep going to uni, or when you'll be 23, whatever that means for you. If you're 25, that'll be when you're 30. But one other thing to keep in mind is, although yes, it's very nice to have a really good physique starting at 16, 17, because then it just gets better and you have it for basically your entire life onwards. But keep in mind that men tend to peak much later. This is something Chris Sturmey, the guy from 1M, talks about, which is that men peak a lot later in life, around like 30, 35, which means you have a lot of time. And even if you're past, well, I don't think a lot of older people are watching this, but just keep that in mind. It's never too late, basically. Oh, and in terms of food, I forgot to mention, have I tried a lot of different diets? Not really, but what I've landed on now, because there's a lot of like carnivore and stuff like that, I think once I start making good money, then I'll switch to more meat and less processed stuff. But not processed, but just more meat and less of everything else. Or when I'm independent, basically. But the diet that I've landed on, which is, I think, the best you can get while still not disturbing the flow of life too much, is a primal diet. That's what I call it. I don't know if it's an official thing. It's basically you just eat unprocessed stuff. That's it. So meat, vegetables, fruits, anything that isn't made in a fucking factory, you can eat. Milk, dairy. I include rice because, well, technically rice isn't processed, but would it be better without rice? Maybe. I think it's okay. So I include rice, but everything else is minimally or unprocessed. And that's the diet I've landed on. It's quite easy to stick with. And it works really well. Then again, it is obviously harder to bulk with it, but is it better to bulk with donuts and stuff? I don't think so, because then you'll just have to cut more and you won't look good and you won't feel good and you'll just fuck up your health. Then in terms of training, I already mentioned this, but I never found the appeal in the kind of aesthetic physique, maybe when I was 12 or 13, but now I just think it's kind of gay. I don't know, it's not, I think for most guys, the women you'd want to attract aren't really attracted in that kind of physique. If you want a very like masculine, domineering kind of girlfriend or partner, then go for it. Otherwise, wouldn't recommend. What I go for is just get as big as possible while staying pretty lean. So no higher than 15% body fat, and just get as big as possible. Just put on weight. And that's why what I'm really happy with is that throughout my entire weightlifting career, I've basically just had this really long, slow bulk, which means that I've never had to cut. And I'm currently like 200, how much is that? 210 pounds, more or less, at around 12, 13% body fat. And well, yeah, I've already said my goals. So just get as big as possible and don't get too fat. Or you can do like bulking and cutting, and then I would do bulk. Just do that as much as you can until you basically reach a limit. And I've yet to find a place where you're too big. I don't even know if that's possible when you're natural. Obviously, your joints might suffer a little bit, but I haven't found that. You do feel a little heavy. I actually never felt heavy until maybe this past month. Sometimes I notice when I go for a run, I can feel my weight, but I don't necessarily feel heavy day to day. But it does feel really fucking good to be big. Especially this, also I'm quite tall, so that helps, but just being big, not being fat, but just being like big is, I'm gonna make a video on this, but it's so nice. It's not something that you think about, oh, I'm so big compared to everybody else. But in so many situations, the size gives you a massive advantage, or just like a pretty good advantage. in terms of when you meet new people, in terms of your relationships, in terms of the respect you get. It's like you basically don't get bullied if you're big, which is really stupid. And a lot of people might say, oh, that's not true. I don't get bullied. I haven't gotten, well, then again, you don't get bullied by doing other things. But I can tell you, if you just get big, people just respect you more. Even if they don't say it out loud, and they wouldn't say, oh yeah, I respect you because you're big. They would say, oh no, that's weird. Like, why would I ever do that? It's like on some subconscious level that the fact that you think I could probably beat the shit out of you means you'll respect me more. And then I see all these sissy workouts, like the really light, like you're not even trying. If you go to the gym, you might as well try. If you don't try, you might as well just not go to the gym. Like, I actually do not see the point. But if you're going to go to the gym, actually put in the fucking work. If you're not grunting, if your face looks fine when you're working out, you're not trying hard enough. You need to actually want to puke during your workouts. Every single one. And a lot of people will suddenly be like, oh, what do you mean I have to do that? If you want to build a good physique, that's what you're going to have to do. Not at first, right? When you're a beginner, you don't need to try that hard. But the longer you go, you need to progressively overload the sacrifices you make, which means you're going to have to work out basically like your life depends on it the further down you go. But what you'll realize is, what I've realized anyway, is that it just becomes fun. I have two types of workouts broadly. I have the high energy workouts and the low energy workouts. The low energy workouts, I don't get too much of these now, but I usually start my workout a bit lower energy and then I immediately try to push it to high energy. Low energy workout is when you don't try, the weights seem really heavy, you're just tired, you're lethargic, it's not fun. The high energy workouts are the workouts where, today for example, I was doing lat pull downs. I was doing 100 kilos or like 220 pounds. And the first set felt really hard and I did maybe 5 reps. The next set, because in between I got hyped up, I was, the entire time I was trying to not hype myself up, but move myself to this higher energy orbital. You can watch the Coke-like energy levels. I think that's the video name. The second workout, I did, I think 8 reps and the weight just felt lighter. And it just felt lighter and it felt like I could move it more freely. And so you want to have these high energy workouts. Most people just have these low energy lethargic workouts. Don't fucking do that. You're gonna see progress at first, but then it's gonna plateau very quickly. And you can see much better progress if you actually try. And the other thing is, right, if you're gonna be in the gym for 1 hour or 2 hours, anyway, you might as well actually put in a worthy effort and come out feeling better. I always regret my low energy workouts, the ones where I don't try that much. I never regret the high energy workouts. Even if I slightly injure myself or something, I don't regret them. And one other thing is, don't use your fucking phone when you're working out. This is something my exchange student taught me a few years ago, because I was using my phone in between sets. I think I was texting this girl. She didn't, she rejected me. But anyways, he was like, buddy, when you're working out, you work out because you want to put all your fucking brain cells on the exercise you're doing and you get better gains. And he got me at the better gains part. Since that point, I don't use my phone during workouts. I use it to track my exercises. And by the way, at one point I tried not tracking my exercises. I just went in, did exercises and left. It's not too bad, but I prefer tracking it because then I can see progress. It's like more of a video game, so you get more like concrete returns and like feedback on what you're doing. But anyway, since that point, I don't use my phone. And funnily enough, I've noticed the people who use their phones whilst they're working out are smaller, always smaller than the people who don't. And the biggest guys in my gym don't use their phones when they work out. I have one guy in mind with like long hair and a big beard, and he's just massive, like the size of a fridge basically. And he wears these really baggy shirts, so you can see he's massive, but anyways, I don't even know if he has a phone. He just shows up has like these wired earphones, probably connected to, what are they called? The fucking, not the Walkman, the MP3 players, works out. I don't see him use his phone a single time and leaves the gym. And he's the biggest guy in the gym. So just think about that. And then one of my friends who does use his phone whilst working out, in between sets, which seems harmless, right? But it definitely does something to you where you just focus less mind-muscle connection. I don't know what it is, but you get less gains. And more than just better gains, I think you could see it as a way of training your, just as like mental training. Because it's really embarrassing if you can't last 1 to 2 hours without your phone. Without like, I need to check my fucking Instagram. If you can't last 1 to 2 hours without doing that, that's just embarrassing. So prove to yourself, prove to others that you can do that. And more than just getting more gains in the gym, I can bet you that the people who don't use their phones whilst working out are on average more successful than the people who don't. You should do like some study on this, but the people who scroll in between sets are way less jacked, way less happy, and way less successful than the people who don't. Is it literally just because they scroll? Probably not. But is that part of it? And is that like a symptom of the kind of person you are? Probably yes. Then I also wrote down good form, crazy volume, train like a fucking beast. On good form, definitely, because otherwise you get injured. If you get injured, you can't train for a while. And it's just like annoying, but also just painful. Life can be painful enough on its own. Not to say it's like very painful. It's kind of fun, but you can have painful moments in life, like you lose people, whatever. But having an aching back on top of that because you fucking injured your lower back doing squats, it's just kind of annoying. So good form, very important, and it's not even that hard. Usually it helps get you better gains anyways. Crazy volume. At one point I was tempted to think that, I did think that I was overtraining or something. No, there is no such thing as overtraining. There's only under recovering. And now I do massive workouts where I do fucking 20, 30 sets for one muscle group, like my back. Maybe even more. Actually, yeah, way more. And I'm fine. Well, obviously I'm sore, but I get good sleep. I have good levels of testosterone, and I just recover. And it just feels good putting in what you know is like a good workout. Could you maybe do the same thing with less sets? Maybe. But I think most people wouldn't be able to. They would just get less gains. It's like if you were perfectly optimized, could you get the same amount of gains I get doing 10 sets a week? There probably is like some scientific backed way of doing it, but it's less fun. And you're not the kind of guy who can get that right. You would do 10 really shit sets and then wonder why you're not progressing. So just put in the 30, 40 sets and at least make the progress. And it's just fun. Just like grunting, screaming in the gym, it's just fun. And then I also wrote down, and this is something I've been doing this past year especially, is you want to spot your weaknesses as early as possible and don't avoid them. It's very tempting. Well, it was very tempting for me to just keep working on what I'm good at, which is chest. I just have a very big chest. Traps, I have very big traps and like a good back. It's very tempting to just work on those because I'm good at them and it's fun to like see them grow and stuff. But when I noticed that my arms were slacking, that my shoulders especially were just fucking tiny, and now recently I noticed my calves were quite small, you need to like bite the bullet and train those muscles, because otherwise the more you do the kind of easier work that might be a little more fun of training the muscles you enjoy, like chest and back, the more the lack of work in your other parts is going to be visible. And at one point it just becomes too much. So the earlier you catch it, the better. But usually I've realized you don't need to do particularly much more. It's just that you've been neglecting it. So I noticed with my shoulders, I didn't need to do a shoulder exercise or like 10 sets every single workout. I just needed to slot them in to get 20 sets a week. and that's made them grow. Same thing for my arms. I don't need to start training them every workout. I just need to do an actually good amount of sets per workout and a good amount of sets per week, and they've started growing again. Same thing for calves. I actually set up like calf raises for every single workout in between some of my other exercises. They look a lot better now, and I don't think I needed to, well, I've removed them from all the other workouts other than legs. It's just that when I think about it, for the past, for a very long time, kind of embarrassingly long time, I just haven't been training calves because I thought, well, when you walk, you do a calf. So spot your weaknesses, work on them. I'm very grateful I did. Actually, when I met my dad for the, well, not the first time, but first time in a long time, I don't mean to paint him out as like some horrible person, but I found it quite interesting that the only thing he remarked about my physique, like obviously he said, wow, you're big, whatever, maybe once, but the main thing that he said was just, he looked at me and just said, oh, your shoulders need some work. And I was like, damn, he's right. And so I started training shoulders, and that's a whole separate thing of like how accept your friends' criticism and all of that. Anyways, in terms of cardio, a lot of people avoid it. I did for some time, but now I've landed, because I don't know why, I just don't enjoy endurance running. It's not, unless you have some big event. Once I did 30 kilometers with no training. I wanted to run a full marathon, but my legs couldn't take it. I just shat myself on the street and my legs couldn't take it anymore. So I couldn't do the full marathon. But other than that, just doing long runs on a regular basis just isn't fun. More than that, I don't think humans were made to do distances. I think we're made to do interval training, where like you run. Imagine if there's like a deer or something. You sprint to get closer to it because we can sprint pretty fast, and then you walk behind it, and then you sprint again and you walk behind it until you catch the deer. You don't fucking tire it out, because if you think about a deer, for example, or a lot of, not fucking hyenas, but I don't know, a bunch of like prey animal, they can usually run faster than us for quite a long distance, and we're pretty slow at longer distances. So I don't know, that's just a thought, but I don't particularly enjoy long distances. Maybe that's because of school. I don't know. But so what I'm doing now is basically two things. I do sprints 3 times a week, which I used to do uphill sprints. Now I do flat road sprints, and I do it on this bridge with cars going by so I can race with the cars. It's actually quite motivating, makes you run faster. But I do that 3 times a week. So basically I warm up by running, warm up my joints, whatever, do anywhere from 3 to 5 sprints, 100-meter sprints, and then I run back home. The whole thing takes 20 minutes maybe, usually half an hour, but between 20 minutes and half an hour. And I do that 3 times a week. And then on top of that, I do fun cardio as many times as I want. So for example, on Tuesdays I have volleyball, which isn't like proper cardio, but it keeps you keep moving for 1 hour straight with elevated heart rate. So that's cardio. I go on bike rides, walking, I guess, but that's not really cardio. Tennis, ping pong, climbing. I just do sports that I want to do and that are fun at that moment. Because sometimes one sport you don't really want to do, so you do another one, whatever. But that's basically the 2 things I do. And then one thing I would recommend is, recently I got more into Strava, and I realized that shit is really motivating. Like having a tally basically of how many kilometers you've done is really cool, because you just want to, if you feel like, oh, I don't really want to go on a run, you think, oh, but it would be really nice to pump up my weekly number. So you put on your shoes and you go for even if it's just a few kilometers, it feels good knowing that you've increased the amount you've moved this week. And also the social aspect of like, might sound a bit funny, but not funny, I don't know. But just thinking that, oh yeah, other people will see that I'm putting in more work than them. Do you necessarily want them to see it? I don't know. But it's quite nice to see that for every one activity your friends do, you've already done like 3 or 5. It's quite nice. So that's in terms of cardio. Don't skip on it, because you go out of breath and it's probably not good for your health. I don't know. But sprinting is really nice for many reasons. It also boosts growth hormone if you do it for 3 to 5 sets. I think that's why I do 3 to 5 sets. I added a section for women, not for women, but as a guy in regards to women. Don't post your physique, only subtly. So this is something I've been told by, well, my girlfriend mainly, and then some other girls, that just posting shirtless photos isn't the way to go. For the thing is, guys will find that very impressive and will be like, damn man, that's a good physique. But girls are just turned off by that because you're trying too hard. So if you want to, well, firstly, if you just wear well-fitted clothes and walk with good posture, people will notice that you're big. If you go to the beach, stuff like that. The only real way to post your physique is subtly. So you're at the beach, you're at a party and you're wearing like a nice fitted polo. You have don't wear extra small shirts, but there's ways to more subtly show off your physique. And also there's this one guy I know who just posts his physique and that's all he posts. Like I know for a fact, if I see he's posted a story, it's just going to be his physique. If he has like a post, I don't even know if he does posts. It's just going to be his physique. That's just, no. Maybe you'll attract some like drunk, sloppy girl, and if that's what you're into, good for you, but I don't think that is what you're into. And most like more classy, I don't know what the word is, but just sophisticated, not basic, like women will not find it very attractive if you just post your physique. No shirtless selfies, none of that. You can look at yourself in the mirror in the gym, don't overdo it or whatever, but it's fine. But the one thing you want to avoid is too much of like fixing your hair in the mirror and taking selfies and stuff like that. That's just gay, like cringe. I don't know, just don't do that. It's not attractive, especially if like you're with a girl and they not look through, but like you're trying to show them a photo in your gallery and you have just massive sets of photos where you just sat in one place and just took 50 selfies. That's just embarrassing. At most, I would say progress photos work fine, especially if they know that you're ambitious or that you care about your physique or the gym. Then having progress photos is fine. But just endless selfies and where you're being all cute and stuff, that's really not the way to go. Whoa, I've always been scared of tractors. Ever since I saw that Cars movie, there's this one scene where they're in the field and then the wheat collecting farm trucks try to catch them. Ever since that point, I'm just a bit terrified of these big machines. Not this one specifically. Well, this shit is also scary. Oh fuck, it turned towards me. Shit. Face your fears, right? If I had to start over again, I would more or less do what I did, but I would say I would have wanted to be as consistent as possible. So just choose however many times I want to work out per week. Stick to that every single week, no exceptions. Don't like go to the gym at the same time every day or every week, and work out hard, and just do that for a long time, and your physique will get better. And then eat clean, primal diet. I wish I'd cut out sugars and all the rest a lot earlier. And then eat well. Just, I wouldn't really try to bulk well, at the start you can try bulking, but honestly just eating as much as you want and allowing yourself to gain weight through muscle, obviously not just fat. And then I genuinely think, now that I think about it, that I currently have, with my given knowledge, whatever, but I have perhaps the best workout strategy ever. Not ever, but just the best one. Because a lot of people do random shit and they do other types of workouts. I think what I have is genuinely the best one. So I would just advise my younger self to just do what I'm doing now, with the sprinting, with all of that, starting from when I was 12 or 13. And the thing is, if you put in the work, it might seem a little hard at first, but the results are well worth it. Not only in terms of women, there's this on social media and just like in common culture, whatever it's called, it's like this joke that you go to the gym to get women and then you only get guys. That's not the case. I mean, is a woman ever gonna approach you and just say, oh my God, you're so, like, I love your physique? Sometimes, actually, that does happen. Not very often, but it does. But usually those ones aren't particularly like interesting. The women, that is. No offense to them, it's just not compatible. But what will happen is it's undeniably proof of the kind of person you are. Because if you're fat or you're skinny, it's just not as attractive. I'm not really sorry to say it. It's just your physical body. A lot of people say it's vain too. Not really. It's just a reflection of who you are. If you're jacked or you have a good body, that probably means you're reliable, you're disciplined, you're trustworthy, all of these things. I'm not saying you can't be fat and be those things, but on average, if you're fat, why is that? You don't care too much. Maybe you have depressive episodes, which isn't particularly attractive. Maybe you're unreliable, you don't stick to your word, all of these things. Obviously not always the case, but on average, I think it very well is. Especially when you're meeting new people. We all judge each other when we meet each other. So just make the best impression. And I don't even know, I never even thought about it, but I really don't know where my life would be right now if I wasn't jacked. Obviously, it wouldn't be completely shit, but I think a good chunk of the place I've been able to put myself in, the position I've been able to put myself in, is thanks to the physique I've been able to build, and then the people I've met along the way through that, and the culture and the things I've learned. But I think a non-negligible part of where I've been able to build myself up to is thanks to the physique. If you're younger too, then the physique, like I'm thinking social circle, I'm thinking social life, I'm thinking girlfriend and like romantic interests, romantic experiences, general like well-being and happiness. The confidence it gives you is just crazy, and that transfers to literally every part of your life. But yeah, the confidence, the self-belief, the charisma, all of these things, a good chunk of them come from building a good body. So that's just one of the many benefits. So really don't underestimate the power of getting jacked. And in terms of things to do, go gym, be hyped, do high volume, basically till you want to puke. Do sprints, talk to strangers in the gym too. Learn about it and improve, compare. If you don't know me or the mission is to lead the world to enlightenment. So you can join us by subscribing. If you want to see more life content, then Instagram, it's linked in the channel thing. If you want more in-depth, more philosophical self-improvement content, that's going to be the podcast. That's also linked in the channel. But yeah, just subscribe, watch the other videos. If you found this one helpful, then you'll definitely find the other ones helpful. Reach out, send me a message on Instagram. Would love to chat, and well, not chat, but do something cool. And yeah, mission is lead the world to enlightenment. Join us, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah!